Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad, and a very warm welcome to my review of Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. But Mick, why are you doing a review of a movie that was released last year? Because I was very late to the Everything, Everywhere, All at Once party. I'm always very resistant when something's so popular, so shielded, and so loved. I was worried that this was going to be an extreme left movie, a movie banding about representation and inclusion. Once I did watch the movie, basically, I absolutely loved it. Let's get one thing absolutely clear. Whatever you see me say on Twitter, or what I've said in the past, I adore this movie. This is a brilliant movie. There's no question about it. And Michelle Yeoh, the star of this movie, is absolutely fantastic. And the two lads who directed this movie did a fantastic job. But let's not get it twisted. This is a stylish rip-off of Back to the Future. Oh my God, Mick, that's some hot take. What are you talking about? Back to the Future is about a teenage boy who is alienated from his family. Nobody believes in him. Everybody thinks he's a loser. This is a story of how a young man has a time travel adventure, goes back to the future, goes back in time, and gets to know his parents in a very deep way, and finds out that his parents had all the kind of problems that what average teenagers have. And they were as alienated, and they had the lack of confidence and all the issues he has as a teenager. Now, I'm not saying that Everything Everywhere All at Once is a copy and paste of Back to the Future. It's full of originality, lots of brilliant concepts in it. It works as its own movie. But the idea, the story surrounding it, is definitely influenced by Back to the Future. But instead of focusing on the daughter, on the younger character, which it does in a way, but everything is from the point of view perspective of the mother, of the wife, of Michelle Yeoh's character. Basically, she's having a midlife crisis. And instead of the teenager being alienated and feeling alienated, it's actually the mother. This character regrets her life in a way. She's been married for a long time. She runs a laundromat, or as us British would call it, a laundrette. She's made choices in her life. She has regrets. And whether or not this multiversal story is all in her imagination, or if it's real, we'll never know. And in a way, it doesn't really matter. But it's really, really well done. But the story basis is very, very similar to Back to the Future, and there's no question about that. But it's a very interesting concept, because ultimately, in this multiversal adventure, the daughter is the villain of this story. We see that the mother and daughter are alienated from each other. But what's very, very interesting about this story is that the daughter is gay. She has a girlfriend, and the mother has a big issue with the daughter having a girlfriend and being gay. I'm actually surprised that people didn't lose their shit about this, but it's a very interesting story. And it has honesty and realism for that case, because there'll be a lot of parents out there who are frightened of the fact that their children are gay and are dating a same-gendered partner. In the real world, it's not like Twitter. People have their doubts and fears, and when it's your kids, it's very different. Now, personally, one of my nieces and nephews come to me and said, look, here's my boyfriend, here's my girlfriend, I'm gay. I would treat them like I would treat them if they were having a straight relationship. I wouldn't even think twice about it. But this woman is criticizing her daughter for putting on weight. And what happens within this multiversal adventure is she starts to believe that this supervillain has actually made her daughter gay and to have a girlfriend. That's in the story. That's amazing. There's great honesty. And even when you get this character going through this journey and changing her mentalities in a lot of ways, she stands there in front of her daughter and says, I genuinely think I'm right to tell you that you're putting on weight. And even when she accepts, the girlfriend, she says to her, you need a haircut. So she's basically accepting all of this, but there's still a part of her that hasn't changed. That's also very, very honest. But the two directors do a brilliant job. What this film is a paradigm shift in Hollywood. This film is produced by the up-and-coming studio A24, who have decided to put the art first. And they know if they put good art first, they make money automatically, while corporate Hollywood and Warner Brothers and Disney are crashing and burning, chasing after the brands, and they don't know what to do next. A24 is becoming the dominant studio in Hollywood. What I don't want to see is a Disney or Warner Brothers owning A24. Once you do that, they will do what they've done with DC and Marvel and ruin it. So we want A24 to remain independent for as long as possible. It really is an excellent multiversal adventure. 2022 was going to be the year of Disney and Marvel Studios' Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. It was going to be the year of Marvel's multiversal adventures. They did it on Loki and they did it in Doctor Strange 2, and they crashed and burned, while this cheap movie that couldn't have cost that much to make did well, because they got people who wanted to make something, wanted to tell the story. This is the paradigm shift in Hollywood. We're moving away from the brands and the IPs because they simply don't work. And please God, don't make an everything and everywhere all at once too. And we'll see what kind of studio A24 will become, because success changes us all. I've had a little bit of success in my life, and that mentality can grow our heads, as if my head isn't big enough and ugly enough as it is. You know, when someone says something nice about you and you see that people like a certain way of doing something, you start to do it again and again, and then you start to repeat yourself, and that's a problem. Now, I think the multitude of Oscars that this movie won can be debatable whether the right movie won all the awards. Now, I've already said I think that the Elvis movie should have basically had a clean sweep. I've even said that the Elvis movie is a better movie, and in a lot of ways it is, and in a lot of other ways it's not. That's debatable. But let me tell you what's not debatable. I don't believe that Jamie Lee Curtis, who delivers a fine performance in this movie, did enough to win her Best Supporting Actress award. Now, in another way, I'm kind of glad that Angela Bassett didn't win this award. Again, corporate Disney lost to A24. So even though I don't agree with the awarding of Jamie Lee Curtis's Oscar, I celebrate her performance. I like Jamie Lee. I think she's a great person, passionate. She's done a lot of good things in the movie industry as well. I don't dislike Jamie Lee. I think she's absolutely fantastic, and she's a really funny lady in reality as well. So I really got a lot out of this film. Ultimately, it's a story of a dysfunctional family. Let's talk about the husband, who's played by the actor who played Short Round in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. He really is a standout in this film. He wants to divorce his wife. He's about to present his wife with divorce papers. He's not a bad man. He's a kind man, but just like his wife, maybe he feels his life isn't where he wants it to be. His wife is distracted. She's just using him as a part of the furniture. So yeah, he plays a brilliant role in this movie, and he plays other characters. You could even argue that the other version of the husband who presents her and says, I'm from the multiverse, and tries to help her, in this adventure is her Doc Brown in this adventure. You know, he gives her a hands-free kit, he starts tapping on his smartphone. In a way, he is Doc Brown in this adventure. So even though I believe that there's kind of inspiration from Back to the Future in this movie, it is an original take of doing that story. And it really is a fabulous adventure. Really, in 2023, when you watch it, you can see this as the Star Wars A New Hope of, and Back to the Future, of this generation of, you know, movie going. Because it is a paradigm shift. Because you hear me complaining and laughing at corporate Hollywood a lot. They don't have any fresh ideas. The movies they're making are not original, sending political extremist messaging, and it isn't good. But this movie is fresh, and it's about a woman who regrets her life, and I think that's a really good story to tell. Ultimately, the moral of this story is about a mother having to let go of her daughter, but not too tight. You know, she still wants to hold on tight, and ultimately she lets her go, but then she tells, you know, she wears her heart on her sleeve. So that's the moral of the story, and it's a very interesting, real story, something that all parents and children go through. Parents and children are very alienated from each other. One doesn't understand the other because the other doesn't understand where the other is coming from. And that's another thing in Back to the Future, but it's done in a very, very different way. So yeah, I mean, it is debatable whether it deserved to win all the Oscars that it did. But there's no question about it. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once is a paradigm shift for the industry. And when it proves, when you put the art form first and the storytelling first, you can make a very, very good movie. And this is what these two guys did and may continue for a long, long time. Let's hope A24 continue to dominate. Rather A24, who have got their hearts in the right place, than corporate Disney and Warner Brothers. The era of the brand is over. And the era of making a good film with a good story, directed and starring talented people, hopefully is the new paradigm shift. Even though 80% of this movie stars an Asian cast, and the two directors are Asian, everyone else in the credits is literally American. The Russo brothers went from directing many, many Marvel movies, and you could argue the best Marvel movies were made by the Russos. They jumped off the Titanic that was Disney and Marvel Studios and jumped into A24. So very, very wise men. And they did a very good job. Everyone on this film did a brilliant job. And, I understand, there's a side of fandom on social media who are only celebrating this movie because it has an Asian cast, because it stars a woman. And they think this is some kind of extremist point to prove. So a lot of support for this film comes from people for the wrong reasons. So when you see me talking against this film in a way, I'm talking against the people jumping on it for the wrong reasons, not about the film. So it's very important that you understand that I love this film. This is one of the best films I've ever seen, ever. I've been watching films since I was a small boy, since the late 70s. So to have a film that's so good in an era of Hollywood that isn't so good, that doesn't give you as many good movies as we used to get. But Everything, Everywhere, All at Once is an absolute classic, and I celebrate it for those reasons. This has been Movies TV Mad. I am Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection, and I'll see you again in the next video. Until I see you again, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen.